Hey guys, how's it going? It's Blepnir here with another team review, and today we're going to be looking at the new and improved THERIAN Landorus in the Open Master League. Now, I am just too happy that this THERIAN Landorus got the amazing move of SANDSEAR Storm. I've always loved THERIAN Landorus. It's one of the few Pokemon that I have built for the Master League. The other two being the Mewtwo and the Dialga that you see on my team. And even back when it was running Superpower and Stone Edge, I almost always used the THERIAN Landorus on my team, either in the lead or in the back. But honestly, I really did not like it with Superpower. Superpower does not get same type ability bonus. It also debuffs your attack and defense, and in general, I just thought that it wasn't an ideal move. But SANDSEAR Storm is the exact type of move that you want on your very fast charging and very hard hitting Pokemon here. Because it gets to SANDSEAR Storm in 5 mud shots every time, which I didn't realize. There aren't a whole lot of Icy Wind clones. SANDSEAR Storm is an Icy Wind clone. You probably are familiar of Icy Wind from like Dugong, but I just did not realize that it charged that quickly, and it seems super overpowered. I can't imagine that Niantic would nerf a signature move like SANDSEAR Storm, especially because it's a Mudshot clone, and usually if a move is a clone of something, they don't nerf it. But it just seems so overpowered, and I'm just very grateful that I decided to invest so many resources into this THERIAN Landorus. Some of you guys might know that I actually have a shiny Hundo Incarnate Landorus, and I was really debating between powering up the Incarnate Landorus and powering up the THERIAN Landorus for a long time. And I finally landed on the THERIAN Landorus, and I cannot be more happy because I just feel like THERIAN Landorus with SANDSEAR Storm does a lot better than Incarnate Landorus with SANDSEAR Storm, if it ever gets it, which I think it probably should because it does learn in the main games. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Master League. You're going to see that I'm going to make quite a few mistakes in these games just because... unlike other leagues, Master League I feel like has a very distinct strategy to it and meta to it, which I'm not very familiar with, and so if the Great League or the Ultra League is around, I usually play one of those two leagues. But now that Master League THERIAN Landorus is so overpowered, I can imagine myself investing in more level 50 Pokemon and pairing them with THERIAN Landorus, just because it's so fun to play this Pokemon, guys. I gotta say, I'm not a big fan of the level 50 legendaries myself, but I make an exception for this one. So we're gonna see how THERIAN Landorus does with its new and improved signature move, SANDSEAR Storm. So hopping into this first battle here, we have Landorus into Dialga. So these are my first few battles with the team, right? And just in general, what I saw were leads that were incredibly weak to the THERIAN Landorus. A lot of Dialga, a lot of Ho-Oh. The Dialga Ho-Oh core is still very common. At least in my elo, I was in like the low 2700s to mid 2700s for these battles, and I did not see a whole lot of what do you call it? The Zygarde. I expect to see a lot more Zygarde, but instead I'm seeing a lot of these Dialgas and Ho-Ohs, which I'm all too happy to battle against. So in this first matchup, you just see the one shield play out right between the THERIAN Landorus and the Dialga. Very clean win there. And so this is the thing that I love so much about SANDSEAR Storm and all this the Storm moves in general. Like the 3 different THERIAN forms. Got the 3 different Icy Wind clones, the SANDSEAR Storm, the Breakwind Storm, and the whatever it's called, the Thunderous Storm. And the thing about them is that you can just throw the move and then leave the matchup, even if it's a negative matchup. With the THERIAN Landorus and with Mudshot, you can get to those SANDSEAR Storms so quickly that it's often beneficial to just throw the move and not even switch out. Even if you have like a hard counter, like a hardish counter, like for example, if they switch in a Giratina Origin into your THERIAN Landorus, or if they switch a Mewtwo into your THERIAN Landorus. In the past, you kind of just had to switch out without throwing a move because your two options were Superpower, which debuffs you and is not that great of a move, or Stone Edge, which is very expensive of a move. But with Breakwind Storm, you can almost always get an advantage by farming up to the SANDSEAR Storm, throwing the SANDSEAR Storm, and then switching out. And that's what's amazing about this move, is that it almost rewards bad reaction time. I have a horrible reaction time in this game, unfortunately. And so oftentimes I won't be able to switch out in time, and I'll end up penalized for it. I might lose the secondary matchup. But nowadays I can just throw that SANDSEAR Storm. And you're going to see here that I actually make a huge mistake in this second battle. This was my second ever battle with this Pokemon. And in general, I'm very rusty in the Master League. So as soon as I saw that Giratina, what I had to do was throw the Draco Meteor. I would easily get to the Draco Meteor versus this Giratina. So I am just giving this opponent a win con here. Still looks pretty good. I can still pull my way out of this. But, unfortunately, I do think that I throw this match. I shield up the first Dragon Claw. Giratina Altered is just a very deadly Pokemon because it gets to these moves so quickly. And so here's my second mistake here, is that I didn't throw the SANDSEAR Storm. I miscounted. I thought that they were... I thought I would CMP tie them after 6 Mud Shots, but I actually... I had to take that Dragon Claw. So now I'm down a shield, and I've taken the Dragon Claw. That's not a good situation to be in at all. They're going to use a shield here, and then I'm going to switch into Mewtwo to force them to switch out. I can take this move easily now that they're double debuffed. I switch into Mewtwo, and then they come into the Togekiss again. And I believe that the Mewtwo can actually just Psycho Cut through the Togekiss, as long as they're not best buddied. But number one, this Togekiss is best buddied, I believe, from the CP that I'm seeing. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But and number two, even if I did get this Psycho Cut down, I would still unfortunately get taken out by one Shadow Claw, and they would definitely sneak in a Shadow Claw if I tried to throw 2 Psycho Side Strikes there. So at least 3 misplays in that matchup that I learned from. You got to learn from your mistakes. And in the Master League, it's very easy to learn from your mistakes because there's so few matchups, really. You just have to memorize the few matchups that you see very often. This is not a matchup that you see very often, though. This is my in-game friend and someone who I'm a big fan of. This is a Colo, and a Colo actually kicked my ass yesterday. And so here, he's using a different team than yesterday. Yesterday, using a Giratina Origin in the lead and still easily beat me. Here, he is using a Virizion in the lead. And this is a negative matchup, right? Because I'm only hitting for resisted damage no matter what I throw. The Stone Edge, the SANDSEAR Storm, it's all going to be resisted. So very negative matchup. But you see there that I get to the SANDSEAR Storm. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to swap. And this is the magic of SANDSEAR Storm, is that even though they're super effective against me, they are so debuffed that a Colo realizes that he has to swap out. And he luckily does not have a direct counter to the Dialga, except for the Virizion, and that's very fortunate because I'm gonna force 2 shields off of this Avaloc. I think I'm not gonna shield this. I'm just gonna depend on my Mewtwo here to sweep in the back, which is a little bit risky. You know, I imagine they're probably quite weak in the back to Dialga if they lead Virizion and they don't have a direct counter to come into. But I mean, Mewtwo is just so deadly in the 2-0 shields. And you see here they have a Rayquaza. Lodacool loves his Rayquaza. And so I'm going to actually allow them to throw. Even if they overfarmed, I'd allow them to throw first because I would be possibly a turn behind because I swapped into Mewtwo and his Avaloc died. So I was worried about that. That's why I would not throw. But here, so they come into the Virizion, and so here I recognize that the Virizion only did three double kicks, right? So I can safely double up on Side Strikes and then throw double Side Strike. But then I see that actually I'm not at a health range where a Dragon Tail would kill me, and so in the end game there, it got a little bit close, but it was just me recognizing that I could safely throw on the Virizion after two double kicks, just in case I miscounted or something. And then, I'm able to survive the Dragon Tail. I'm able to get to the next Side Strike. So luckily for me, the Virizion was their only Dialga counter. And so when I double debuffed or triple debuffed the Virizion like that, it suddenly neutralized their only Dialga counter, and I was able to take that game. So next up, we have another Dialga lead. So many Dialga leads. I can only guess that there were so many Dialga leads because of the fact that Zygarde is so overpowered right now. But like I said, I have not seen very many Zygardes, which is fortunate for me. When shields are up, the Landorus can handle Zygarde, but the thing is that with this strategy that I use, you really don't want to go down shields. You want to take shields because Dialga can sweep as long as you have shields in the back. As long as you're able to get a nice farm down with Dialga, it can often sweep teams. So you really don't want to go down shields. And if you want to maintain alignment with Zygarde, you have to go down shields. So it's a little bit of a trouble for Landorus. But definitely now that Landorus has this amazing move of SANDSEAR Storm, it's not that bad of a matchup anymore. Hopefully I included a battle with a Zygarde in this video. I think I had one battle with Zygarde that might have not made the cut. But yeah, so here we see that they have Kyogre in the back. And I included this battle because I just wanted to show this is a really common matchup. And luckily for me, I saw a lot of Kyogre in the back and not a whole lot in the lead. Hopefully I included Kyogre in the lead as well. But in general, I saw a lot of Kyogre today, which is not surprising because Kyogre is so powerful. But you're going to see that with new and improved SANDSEAR Storm, all of a sudden the Landorus can easily handle the Dialga as long as it's not in the lead. You see I get that mud shot through there. That is absolutely crucial because now it's only 2 more moves to get to my SANDSEAR Storm, 2 more mud shots, and I only take one waterfall of damage, and I'm very healthy here. Even if they get to the Iron Head, I am healthy enough to survive it, and I think that there were 1 Dragon Breath off of the Iron Head here anyway. So we were able to get to the SANDSEAR Storm. That easily takes them out. And yeah, very satisfying victory. Like, I can't put into words how good SANDSEAR Storm is, how good Landorus is now that it has a same type ability bonus, ground type move. It's really needed that that buff for a while now. Before, it only had access to Earthquake, and Earthquake takes so long to get to. And Landorus is so frail that Superpower is definitely better, but SANDSEAR Storm is 1,000 times better than Superpower. You could also run Superpower and Stone Edge. I would recommend that maybe for the Ultra League. But Stone Edge is really good for that flying coverage in the Master League. So here we caught the Size Strike onto our own Mewtwo. I did this a lot. I farmed up to the SANDSEAR Storm and then I catch the Size Strike. The reason why is because they're very unlikely to not throw the Size Strike there because they know that they win the CMP with the Landorus, and they don't want to be hit by a SANDSEAR Storm. And that's one of the powers of the SANDSEAR Storm is that the threat of an attack debuff often forces opponents to make predictable moves, such as throwing their charge move immediately, and you want to capitalize on that. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm actually going to let this Iron Head go through. It's not going to do too much at all because it got debuffed. They come back in with the Mewtwo, and I'm just going to switch into Dialga here. We're going to see what they throw. By the way, I kind of regret they brought in their Dialga versus my Mewtwo, right? I kind of regret throwing that Shadow Ball at first. Yeah, I got a shield, but if I threw double Size Strike, I could have actually put them into range where my SANDSEAR Storm would take them out. So that is a slight misplay. Going for that Shadow Ball into the Mewtwo, into the Dialga with my own Mewtwo. But now we are in a zero shield scenario, and this is not too bad at all. I expect they have a Kyogre in the back, right? It's always a Kyogre in the back. It's what I've found. If they lead Mewtwo, if they lead Dialga, it's the most common Pokemon right now. And this is a great situation. They even try to catch, which is even better for me because I get a little more farm. I guess I don't really need more farm, but regardless, I'm looking at their moves. I'm making sure to throw in the middle of their move, so I'm not going to let them catch. I am going to get to this SANDSEAR Storm here, and so this is just absolute Kyogre bullying right here. This is why I love Dialga so much. It does so much damage with that Draco Meteor. So you see right off the bat, that's a 4-1 with this team at not too low elo. We're breaking the 2700s now. And didn't have too much difficulty with those matchups. There was that one matchup that I made a ton of mistakes, like I said before, and I learned from those mistakes. But those other 4 were easy wins. And so we got Landorus into Zekrom. This is a fantastic lead. Another fantastic lead. Obviously Zekrom leads aren't that common, but they're out there. Zekrom in general is out there, and it's so nice to have a ground type move. All of a sudden, ground typing is probably, I think, the best typing in the game consistently. And there I call the Fusion Bolt. A Crunch would do about the same amount as the Fusion Bolt, so I was pretty safe to call the move there. It wouldn't get me too low. And then we simultaneously swap. I swap into the Mewtwo because Mewtwo is my safe swap. And it's the best case scenario here that they swap into Landorus immediately because we're just going to win the CMP tie every single time, and we have a shield advantage. What that means is that we're going to escape this matchup with a very healthy Mewtwo and a fairly healthy THERIAN Landorus and a shield advantage. And as long as I play this end matchup right, this should be game over. The reason why is because Dialga in the back with a shield advantage and with a... and see here that they actually throw the move. So this is truly game over because they could have held on to their energy here, but they threw their move and I won CMP with my Size Strike. And now this Groudon is just in for a world of hurt. I could have switched immediately into my THERIAN Landorus, and if I had a better reaction time, I might have done that, because that would be the safer play, is to switch to THERIAN Landorus and take out the Groudon with a shield advantage. But this is also fine too, right? Like, this is super safe. They can throw all the fire punches they want. They can even bait again with the Groudon. And there's no way that they can win because of the fact that the Dragon Breath will just take out both their back two Pokemon. This is just going to be another Fire Punch, if I'm counting correctly. But I'm just going to shield it. I don't mind because I just take out both their Pokemon. They're not going to make a Draco Meteor on the on their Zekrom. There's no way. And none of their cheaper charge moves would take me out. Crunch wouldn't take me out. The Fusion Bolt is resisted, and that is a good game. So yeah, that's just demonstrating that you can win pretty consistently in the Open Master League as long as you get a shield advantage and a little bit of energy on your Dialga. So here we have a battle versus my good friend Akl Stark. Akl Stark, a common sight on the Twitch Pokemon Go scene and a fantastic battler. Also see him on Discord often. A very, very, very good member of the community. And so we are going to... So we bait the SANDSEAR Storm. The reason why I bait the SANDSEAR Storm first is because we do need 2 moves to take out the Dragonite anyway. So I probably should have gone for the Stone Edge first because they're most likely to no-shield the first move because I'm most likely to throw the SANDSEAR Storm first. But we didn't. We threw the SANDSEAR Storm first. They let it go. That's fine. The Stone Edge wouldn't have taken them out anyway. And then we save swap into Mewtwo. And they greet the Mewtwo with their Landorus. And so this is fantastic, right? Because we needed to bait this Landorus out. The Dialga has a very negative matchup with THERIAN Landorus now, especially because of SANDSEAR Storm. Like in the past with Superpower, the Landorus at least had to debuff themselves every time they threw one, right? And so that's why I didn't like the Landorus before, is because after a few debuffs, suddenly these superpowers don't do a whole lot to Dialga. But now we have the THERIAN Landorus, and they're switch locked for a good amount of time into our own THERIAN Landorus. So they're forced to throw a move, and we can just farm them down with Dialga at this point. They didn't farm up enough energy for them to get to another SANDSEAR Storm. If they did get to a SANDSEAR Storm, that would be disastrous for us. But here we are going to throw the Draco Meteor immediately. Luckily for me, they didn't catch. They might have been switch locked in. Looking at my own switch timer, they might have been switch locked in. But yeah, if they caught, then that would have been just game over for me. But luckily here, we could take them out with a single Size Strike if we Psycho Cut if we needed to. But we do have the Size Strike banked, and so with that, it's a pretty safe win because I believe that they were in Size Strike range on their Dragonite, even if they managed to take out my Dialga before I did all that damage, and that is a good game. So yeah, that's just the Mewtwo has a very dominant matchup with the Landorus even after SANDSEAR Storm, and so Mewtwo is really strong right now. I haven't seen that many Landoruses in the lead, surprisingly. I'd imagine it would be a lead Pokemon, right? Because it has that debuffing move that can guarantee to get off. Like in this situation, you see, I just get off the SANDSEAR Storm just because it's such a good debuffing move. It puts the opponent into range for a Size Strike. So even if they let that go, I could still get the Size Strike off. That's kind of why you want to lead the THERIAN Landorus. I'm not sure why I didn't see too many in the lead. Maybe it's because it's like too predictable in the lead, so people didn't want to run it because they thought that people would be countering it. But I did not see that many counters for the THERIAN Landorus lead, luckily. And so, like I said before, this is why you want to run the THERIAN Landorus lead. So now we have this pretty positive matchup. The Mewtwo in the back. They do predictably switch back into the Dialga, but this just allows me to go for the Shadow Ball to put them into SANDSEAR Storm range. Because of those 2 debuffs, I did need the Shadow Ball to get them into SANDSEAR Storm range, but now we're going to easily take out this Dialga. We actually get 2 mud shots here after the SANDSEAR Storm, which is perfect farm. Absolutely perfect farm. Because I think that they were either 2 or 3 Dragon Breaths away from the Iron Head there. And then they have the Kyogre in the back. We're just able to sweep with the Dialga. And so as long as the Kyogre's in the back, which is where I usually saw it, this team is just fantastic. You saw there that I was trying to switch out into the Mewtwo to catch this move, but this is completely fine because we can survive this Blizzard. We're going to see how much a Blizzard does to a Dialga here. Oh no, never mind. This is an Origin Pulse. I did get Blizzarded with my Dialga a couple times today, but the Origin Pulse does baby damage to the very bulky Dialga, and we're able to take that game. Blizzard would not have been nearly enough to take me out either. It does quite a bit of damage, but it doesn't do enough to take out Dialga with fast moves. Okay, so here's I Like Churches, who is a very common sight on Pokemon Go Discord and Pokemon Go Twitch, and I Like Churches is still trying to go for Legend, so I am definitely going to top left to them if necessary. But I don't know if you guys do this, but after I hit Legend, what I like to do is I make weird plays and I see if they work out for me or not. And so now I'm just going to let the Shadow Ball go. I Like Church is a very good player. Going to go for the Shadow Ball, not going to bait like I did. I did bait because I knew that I Like Churches would shield there. And so now suddenly I'm in a bad spot, but I just wanted to know what would happen if I came in here with the Dialga. The problem is I know it's going to be a Kyogre in the back. We've seen so many Kyogres so far. So I very stupidly let that Shadow Ball go. I only counted 6 Psycho Cuts there. I thought that it was 7 each time. Maybe, is it 6 to the second one? Let me know in the comments down below because I'm too lazy to actually look at the counts. But yeah, this is a very bad matchup. We should have just gone into the Landorus here instead of just staying in. We should have gone to the Landorus, but instead we go into the Landorus now, and this is just going to be a loss. Huge misplays on my part. I could have won this battle easily if I had shielded up the Shadow Ball correctly. If they had baited with a Side Strike, it would have been a closer matchup. But definitely, this was the singular wrong strategy to take. Yeah, I'm just playing this one kind of weird. I definitely did not ever intend to take the W here. I just wanted to know how those matchups would play out the way that I played them, and it's definitely the wrong way to play them. I should have shielded up the Shadow Ball. I should have shielded up the hypothetical Side Strike. You know, like even if they went for a Side Strike, shielding up that up was the right play. So a bad play on my part. Fantastic battling by I Like Churches. Let's move on. This is my first mirror match, I believe. And we're going to see how this one plays out. I think that later on in mirror matches, I would switch out into the Mewtwo on the 7th mud shot. Because the opponent always throws on 7. Almost always throws on 7 because they don't want to be debuffed by SANDSEAR Storm before they throw. And then if they throw a Stone Edge onto Mewtwo, that's fine because they don't debuff the Mewtwo. If they throw a SANDSEAR Storm, that actually doesn't do enough to the Mewtwo that 2 SANDSEAR Storms take them out. And so the Mewtwo actually still has a positive matchup there, even debuffed. But here you see that they did, in fact, throw the Stone Edge onto the Mewtwo, but the Mewtwo is healthy enough to get to a Side Strike and a Shadow Ball versus the Dialga. And so this is basically very stereotypical Master League strategy is to get a shield advantage and get a little bit of energy advantage with Dialga. And now I can shield up the SANDSEAR Storm here. I have a good amount of energy. They do have the ability to they do have the ability to take me out with the close combat here, but they actually go for the close combat versus the THERIAN LANDORUS, which is surprising. Yeah, this is going to be a loss, unfortunately. I tried to catch the close combat onto the THERIAN LANDORUS, but I definitely had to wait a little bit longer, and I wasn't able to get to the move. So that was definitely a misplay on my part, unfortunately. Yeah, so looking back, I definitely would have played that one out differently. But next up, we have the THERIAN LANDORUS into the Giratina Origin, and this is a pretty difficult lead for the THERIAN LANDORUS, but it was a lot more difficult of a lead before it got access to SANDSEAR Storm. So it's very satisfying, after so long having to play out the lead with the Giratina Origin, when I had to throw Stone Edges, all of a sudden, I'm a lot more of a threat now because of the fact that SANDSEAR Storm does some pretty decent damage and also debuffs them. I'm just going to shield up the first Shadow Ball. If they threw an Ominous Wind there, it puts me in kind of a poor spot. But just banking on the fact that they throw Shadow Ball there, we can just shield that. We can throw a SANDSEAR Storm. This is on the move. Unfortunately, maybe it would have been better to switch out there and catch a debuffed Ominous Wind. But instead, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to shield up the Ominous Wind, and then I go into the Mewtwo. So now I have an Ominous Wind bank, and you're going to see that a lot of the time, that is a pretty good strategy, is to switch out with a SANDSEAR Storm banked. Sorry, I said Ominous Wind later. A SANDSEAR Storm banked, because that has so much potential in the back. And so now I just put them into Ominous Wind range with the Shadow Ball. I probably could have just gone straight Side Strike here, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to get a perfect farm down here. This is just going to be an Iron Head. This is not a problem. This is the whole name of the game, is you have to get this farm down with your own Dialga. As long as the opposing Dialga does not get to the Draco Meteor, it's so common that you're just going to be able to automatically win as long as you have that energy advantage, because the things that counter Dialga usually take super effective damage from Iron Head, right? Like the fairies, and then everything else takes so much damage from Draco Meteor that as long as they didn't catch on their Giratina Origin there, we were just going to be able to take that match, and that's a good game. So next up, we have THERIAN LANDORUS into Palkia, and this is a Dragon Tail Palkia, and with Dragon Tail, you want to go for a correct move timing. You want to go for 7 and then throw the SANDSEAR Storm. We're going to go into Mewtwo here. We're hoping to catch the Aqua Tail. We didn't catch it, but they throw it anyway, so that works for us. Because this is debuffed, right? And so they come in with their Melmetal, and we are going to be able to take out the Melmetal with 2 Shadow Balls plus a little bit of damage with Psycho Cuts. I think it's like 4 Psycho Cuts after 2 Shadow Balls. But this is a little bit of a shady situation because of the fact that they would get to the Rock Slide here. They actually went for an extra move, so I regret throwing the Side Strike because I could have gotten to the Shadow Ball there and CMP tied them. But regardless, we're going to get them low. They had the Rock Slide there when I got to the Side Strike, so I'm surprised they didn't CMP tie me because I could have gotten to that Shadow Ball and taken them out. Regardless, we're going to get a huge farm down with this Landorus, they go into the Palkia, that's fine. Because the Palkia is below half health. This is a very, not very bulky Palkia. They should be at more health than this at this point, I think. Right, guys? Because I just think that it must be underleveled because the SANDSEAR Storm does not do half of Palkia's health. But luckily for us, we do force a shield there. And so here we're fine. Because we have 2 shields. We can throw the Iron Head. They don't have to shield the Iron Head because we can just farm down. The reason why we throw the Iron Head there instead of the Draco Meteor is obviously number 1 because they could have shielded the Draco Meteor and then we would be in a lot of trouble. But number 2, I recognize the fact that Melmetal is low enough that we can take them out with Dragon Breaths as long as the Dragon Breaths aren't debuffed like they would be if I threw the Draco Meteor there. So so that's why we throw the Iron Head. It's the safest play, definitely. Dragon Breaths do so much damage, even to Steel types, even though they're resisted, that they were never getting to a move on the Melmetal there. So in the next battle, we have our friend Bishook, and Bishook is also still climbing to Legend. And so we're definitely going to throw this match if it looks like we're going to win. But, they make a really good catch here onto their Dialga. So many people were catching the moves that I was throwing. And it makes total sense because of the fact that, just like I was describing earlier, that I would catch moves because people want to CMP tie with the SANDSEAR Storm. It goes the other way around, people would catch moves from me because of the fact that they knew I was going to throw CMP tie with the SANDSEAR Storm. So make sure that you don't CMP tie with the SANDSEAR Storm there. If you go up against an opposing Landorus and you catch onto Mewtwo, as I did there, you see here Bishook did bait with the SANDSEAR Storm against my own THERIAN Landorus, and that's a good bait there. We're going to throw the full move. They do shield correctly, so they are making the correct moves. They caught the move successfully onto their Dialga. They caught the Side Strike onto the Dialga. They successfully baited the SANDSEAR Storm. And now they have a Zacian, and this is a very hairy situation. I do have a lot of energy on the Landorus, and so at this point, they do throw the Play Rough because they know that the close combat would put them into Iron Head range. But I think that they could have actually gone to double close combats because I gave them such an energy advantage there that they could have gone straight close combat. Unless they're running, it's possible they're running Wild Charge. So now I'm just going to go for the Stone Edge here. That puts them low, but we're in a pretty bad spot, right? Because they can go for their own Stone Edge. Luckily, that doesn't quite take me out. And then what we're going to do is we go for the double SANDSEAR Storm here. SANDSEAR Storm would be more than enough to take them out. But like I said, we want to give them the win, but we wanted to have a pretty epic battle here before we did so. So, of course, we're going to completely undercharge the SANDSEAR Storm. In the end of the game, it still kind of came out to a coin flip. Unless they had under 15 attack, like if they had 14 attack, I did see that was a little bit of an underpowered THERIAN Landorus there. So if it was a 14 attack Landorus, we would have just won that game as long as we fully charged up our move. But I think that they probably had a 15 attack Landorus. You do want to have a 15 attack Pokemon if you use it in the Master League, and obviously you want to max it out to level 50 if you're serious about like really grinding up Elo and tryharding in the Go Battle League, just because of the fact that there are going to be so many of those CMP ties. And as you saw there versus Bishook, if they had a best buddied THERIAN Landorus with 15 attack,